It's time! Yes, it's that time for a new week of your favorite current affairs magazine talk show. Good morning and welcome to Jasiri. It's the start of a brand new week, and as always, we are here to inspire, inform, and ignite important conversations. I sound very serious. Now, as we head for the end of the year, it's the perfect time to reflect on our journeys, set intentions, and tackle issues that shape our world. And you can trust that this week, as always, we're bringing you stories, discussions, and perspectives that challenge the norm, that spark conversation, and of course, that drive change.
All right, so I can only tell you that this week will be a good one, but really, what week isn't a good one here on Jasiri? But before we get into the weekend's gist and shenanigans, let's welcome the one, the only, my girl, Judith Atibi. Baby Juju! Sweet baby! How are you shining bright like a diamond?
Do you get Rihanna?
This economy is not touching you, girl.
No, okay. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for the very warm welcome. It's always wonderful to be on this table with all the Jasiri ladies again. Second time in a row. Exciting, as always.
Yeah.
But you feel like you're receiving an award. You feel like that's a...
Yeah.
Wait, but you guys are award winners. What are you talking about? Nominated Eloy Award. Nominated Futures Award as well. Congratulations, nominees, award winners, and so it's an honor to sit down with you ladies. Thank you so much for having me. So
I don't think that you ladies talk about any issue. Just keep making us blush.
Come on, you guys are making me shine. So hopefully all this brightness is rubbing off on me. And again, it's Christmas, so maybe all the Christmas lights and the tinsels as well behind me.
It's not true. They are behind me too. You're more behind me than they are.
So you see, it's more of your shine than mine.
No, I don't agree. But still, yeah. I think Christmas, I was going to ask you how your weekend was, but I think...
It was a weekend. I was on Breakfast Extra now.
It's like Christmas it's creeping my corner. Hammer turning is hammer turning.
Yeah?
You wake up, there's that. I now know that, yeah, I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. I didn't smell it last year, Christmas.
Oh, but you did not?
Yeah, this year, yeah.
I think I felt it a little. Okay, so I think the reason I felt it was the road was a little more scanty for a while before the Christmas itself. You know, that period where people are traveling. You know, the traffic reduced, the cars were less on the road. But from 2020, it's like the IJGBs now tripped in, and then I just lost the feel.
So I think for me, the truth of the matter is I create my own cheer for Christmas. I love Christmas. Christmas is my favorite time of the year, without a question of a doubt. I adore Christmas. Really? I love it so much. So as it's gearing up for Christmas, I'm looking all through where they're all having carols. So on the 1st of December, I actually attended the carol service at one of the very popular arts center. Yes, I went there, attended the carol service, was there, a full orchestra. I think it was a 9-man orchestra, like the whole thing. Sitting down, paid the ticket, sat down, enjoyed the Christmas cheer, which, you know, I decorated my house for Christmas. My folks have also decorated their house for Christmas. Everyone's sending their Christmas list. We have a Christmas menu. I'm a family person. I've always said this.
Yeah, so Christmas is special because you can actually, I can tap into excitement.
Exactly. So you have to create your cheer for Christmas. And I think that the truth of the matter is, and I'm going to say this, the fact that you ladies haven't started to feel the Christmas, and even last year was the same thing as well. 1st of December, already feeling the Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready, I'm there. Let's go, 25th, let's go. Fireworks, a dinner, everything. Like, my sibling has sent me, this is what we want for Christmas cake. I have the money saved for our Christmas cake, what we're having. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's the like, we know, my mom's already called me, you know, this is what I want for Christmas. I'm like, yeah, you cannot miss me. I will buy what I want to give you for Christmas. Don't call me, you know? So we know what we want for Christmas. And I would say this, I am incredibly blessed and lucky to be able to create that cheer and enjoy Christmas and be able to be very intentional about Christmas. And I'm grateful that I do have a well-paying job and a meaningful job and, you know, friends and loved ones. And I live a very well content life, you know. And it takes me back to when there was nothing, when there was not enough. But there was still a means to still enjoy that Christmas. We didn't have the decorations, we didn't buy the Christmas trees, we didn't buy the gifts, but they were outfits. Like my folks would still buy us the Christmas clothes or something to look forward to. There was banga, you know, there was the sparklers,
Yeah,
you
the
know.
banger.
We could travel to the village for Christmas, you know, even if it was by road, and we spent hours on the road, but it didn't matter because the stops were there, the snacks on the road, seeing other people traveling for Christmas. All those things mattered, you know. So we created the cheer, and that's what I would say to our viewers and to you ladies. Create your cheer for Christmas.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But so,
Serious?
first of all, about the banger thing, I was in my house
Oh, God.
on the 29th of November, and I just heard bow.
That's when you knew.
So at first I was like, is that a gunshot? Then I heard it again, bow, bow. I'm like, really, guys? I couldn't even wait until the 1st of December. But I like that. So my thing is, and I do agree with you, because sometimes when you know, I grew up with a large family. We had the Christmas period. My mom was always cooking at 4 a.m. I don't know who sent her, but everyone had to wake up, and we would sing in the kitchen. It was so nice.
Yeah.
But eventually, everyone grew up. Everybody had, you know, gone to settle down. So being here is new to me.
Right.
And myself and my brother are very nonchalant people. So it takes a bigger power to like bring us together to celebrate. So it's now that we're trying to intentionally, you know what, Victor, let's do something for Christmas. Even if
Yeah.
it's popcorn and you know, Netflix. But because of work and you just come back tired, all that decoration, you can't do it. But I like that, you know, we can still maybe get pizza and just watch a movie.
I'm sorry, you have to look, instead of pizza and popcorn, how about you do something special and go for like a buffet? You know what I mean? Like, pay for a buffet
So
yourself.
I don't go out during Christmas.
Right.
Because like the whole
Everybody-
world is outside.
Yeah.
No, not on Christmas Day.
No, but everybody's out on
Which is even fun because now you're people watching, people are celebrating, telling you like the happiness and the joy of everyone being
No,
outside
please, no.
and wishing each other a Merry Christmas is joy.
we will
I'm going to.
revisit.
Anyway, New Year's Eve is also a time as well that you
Yeah,
can
we'll
celebrate.
revisit this
I like that
conversation. I
one.
hope Judith will be at the table with us, because I also want to ask people which is more important to them. But I know we have to move on.
Yeah.
But quickly, I was going to ask, like, which is more important to people? Because some people prefer Christmas to New Year. The furore of New Year, for some people, it holds more water than Christmas. But don't answer that.
I'm
We'll
not
come
going
back to this conversation when it's nearing that time. But for now, let's give you a small roundup of some of the stories from this weekend that caught our eye. Olanike Nafisat Balogun has made history as the first female pilot in the Nigeria Customs Service. According to an NCS statement released yesterday, spokesperson Abdullahi Gambo highlighted her ambition and dedication. Balogun began her career in 2002, earning qualifications including an advanced diploma in air ticketing and cabin services, a master's in public administration from Ahmadu Bello University, and a pilot certification from the Flying Academy in Miami. Now she's a deputy superintendent of customs. So we say congratulations, Olanike Nafisat Balogun.
That's great news. That was some great news that came in as the Nigerian police in Abuja as well has recovered a toddler who was kidnapped 2 months ago from his school in Port Harcourt. Very great news for the family and the community and the relatives as well. So the Commissioner of Police in charge of the territory, and that's CP Olatunji Disu, handed the child back to his mother, noting that technology helped trace his whereabouts. The abduction of 4-year-old Hope Evans happened on October 31st when a woman named Blessing Okoye lured the child away from community primary school in Azubi in Port Harcourt by offering him biscuits and a boiled egg. Now, Okoye, who was unknown to the school, managed to leave with the child unnoticed. The disappearance was discovered later that evening when the boy's family realized he was missing, and the mother, that's Lydia Gabriel, that's her name, reported the disappearance of her son. Well, congratulations. I'm so glad he was found safe, sound, and happy from the pictures there.
I am, and we'll circle back to this technology talk, but in the meantime, earlier, Catherine mentioned history being made with the NCS first female pilot. Now, history was also made in Ghana this weekend. The elections, which we covered extensively, if you've been watching, our current Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia considered defeat, saying that the people of Ghana have spoken, the people have voted for change at this time, and we respect it with all humility. This means that former President John Dramani Mahama is returning to power. But it's not just the historic return of Mahama that has people talking. It's also that Ghana is getting its first female vice president in the person of Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang. Just a little brief on her. She's an academic who served as Minister of Education from February 2013 to January 2017. She's a full professor of literature. She served as the first female vice chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, so many firsts, and is currently the chancellor of the Women's University in Africa. She has served on many local and international boards and committees. She's also, I feel like dancing when she lives in here. Yeah. She's also an author focusing on literature with a focus on women from Ghana, as well as oral literature in Ghana and Africa. This right there is a power woman.
Let me just start. I'm sorry, I'm going to take it away first. Forgive me. You all know I'm a literature head. You know I hate literati. You know that I studied education English language. You know that I am passionate about literacy and literature. And so seeing her story and seeing that she was running, and when I looked at her resume, I'm like, I can do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm about to be someone's vice president. I know I'm about to be somebody's vice or running mate because her resume is what another Judith in another timeline is doing. You know what I mean? Like her resume is, because I studied education as well. I also want to be. So when I saw it, I was like, this is Judith in another timeline. And so I know that in this timeline of our lives and our world and this fates, I'm definitely going to be a vice president.
And this is why I like it when women do things. I'm not saying that it's only women that motivate, but a lot of women do not know their capacity until they see other women doing it. So it's like shine and let me shine, right? The fact that she's shining is making Judith all giddy. I'm so excited. I heard the woohoo when I talked about literature, so I like that. It's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. Seeing power women dominate, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think just piggybacking on what the ladies have said, women are quietly and silently taking over. We celebrated the Namibia a couple of days ago, and I was visibly excited because it's like finally we are being seen, we are being recognized. Women are actually occupying these positions that once we dreamt of. I remember when Barack Obama first took office, and when people were there at the swearing in, Black Americans were like, it was unbelievable. The ones holding their heads, the ones holding their mouth, the ones holding their... Oprah had tears in her eyes. It was like something that nobody saw coming. Right. Then this black man with Kenyan background just comes and then sits on that in that seat. So now, bringing it back to Africa, we're seeing women who are taking their chairs and sitting down, and you see her, there's something regal about her.
And mind you, we're still in a world where women don't dare to dream. So this is a big deal.
Now you see that with these happenings, it's daring women to dream. It's daring girls to dream. And you know that one day your story will be written there in the stars.
Yeah, I know, that's right. Look, from November all the way down to December, it's been wins for women. And I'm going to start with the Vice President of the United States of America, who was the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, the NDC, running, taking up the mantle, not faltering, not rejecting it. When they called her to serve, she got up and she ran a impeccable, unbelievably brilliant run for the White House. She did not win, but that was a testament that not just a black woman, a South Asian woman, and a woman can do it. And she was also she also a history maker, being the first woman vice president, woman of color to take that office. So from there, then going down to our very own Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, you know, and then now Natambo Idaitwa, you know, of Nadi Idaitwa of Namibia, taking that position, and now vice president for Ghana as well, vice president-elect for Ghana. Women everywhere else. You matter.
We are coming.
Keep pushing.
And we're coming.
Through victory, there must be adversaries. So when you encounter those adversaries, please understand that they are necessary for that victory. Because the war is fought in darkness, but victory comes in light. And when that victory comes in light, all women see that as examples, and they know that the glass ceiling has now been broken, and they too can thrive to achieve that.
I think we can close. Oh, sorry. Oh,
I know.
Congratulations.
I know.
I love it. Okay, so, well, now that we're still celebrating, celebration is still there, but I want us to circle back to this conversation of the kidnapped story. I'm so happy that the child has been returned. But then something got my attention. The fact that they said something about using technology to trace the child. So it means that we're not as, what's the word we use? We're not baka than we thought. We're not so we can use technology to trace kidnappers and kidnapped victims. How about we replicate this? Now, we've seen that this was a successful one. You're able to use this technology. First of all, what is this technology? All these vague responses, it needs to stop. That's one. First of all, what is this technology? Secondly, how do we replicate the use of this technology for broader cases, bigger cases, like, you know, the kidnap of a whole school bus with school children in it?
This thing that you have said, it has me questioning in my mind. I'm saying, maybe, or all, you know, these technologies exist. It is the different people, different states, or different departments who have refused or probably do not know how to use the technology, because you can't say that that's a technology isolated in this case. This is in Port Harcourt. The same technology, if we're cutting it across board, and it has to be with Nigerian police, it has to be a same technology that can be accessed and accessible by other police departments in other states. So probably, you never know. It can be that, oh, it's a technology that they decided to put to use. We have technologies here. How many technologies do we have at our fingertips that people don't use that they're supposed to use? Law, what do you call it? You're protectors of the law. You're people who, the police is your friend, and everybody knows that it is the opposite, the very extensive, desperate opposite that is not your friend. But if you say you're our friend and these things are there in the cookie jam, just put your hand and say, okay, that technology, let's bring it out and use it. It's a nekesa. I don't think it's more than that.
Do you know how you ladies keep using the term technology? It's so big that we're just saying technology. And that's why I've been smiling the whole time. I mean, look, you both have said, you know, if I'm going to add anything to this conversation, is the fact that, like you rightfully put, they're quite vague. They've not been, all of the statements they oftentimes put out is very, very vague. Are we thankful that this boy was found? Absolutely.
Of course.
Are we grateful that he was found unhurt, not harm, and he is very happy he's reunited with his family and his relatives? Fantastic. But one thing I will say is this. There are thousands, and I use thousands very loosely, of people, some we do not know, that are undocumented, unreported, that have slipped through the cracks, and hence why I use thousands, that have gone missing and not been found. Every single other day on Twitter or social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, there is some flyer, digital flyer of somebody who's been missing. Sometimes 3 years, sometimes 2 years, sometimes a month, sometimes an entire year, and the families are desperate for answers. Now, are there cases of missing trails that have gone cold? Absolutely. But I will say this, to the Nigerian police, to the Joint Task Force, to all the other sister security agencies, just as you've done this for this child, please do for others.
Right.
Please, it's very important.
Very,
Let's
very
bring
important.
circle. It's a Christmas, for the sake of Christmas.
And then again, we're not going to take away the victory from the story. The fact that the boy came out unscathed is a big deal, and we're glad about that. But anyways, it's time to go on a short break. And after the break, we turn our attention to Nigerian women and the fight for representation. Again, we're still talking, so it's like two sides of the pendulum, because we're celebrating women being seen, but we're still saying that they're not seen enough. Our guest is a Chevening scholar, social entrepreneur, GBV, SGBV, VAWG, and equality advocate, and ran for the House of Representatives in 2023. Hawwah Abdullahi Gambo joins us after the break, so stay with us.
I know, don't be afraid. If you're seeing my face on the Monday morning, it's Jasiri, okay? This is no breakfast extra from the one what you can see at the back. Well, it's my pleasure today to join the amazing ladies of Jasiri for this show. And you can join the conversation, by the way, via our social media platforms. We're at News Central TV. And today we are focusing on a pivotal moment in Nigeria's journey towards inclusive governance. Now, the proposed bill to create 74 additional seats for women in the National Assembly, which passed second reading in the House of Representatives in July. Now, this historic move aims to amplify women's voices in the legislative process and close the gender gap in political representation. But as we applaud this progress, questions remain about its implications, implementation, and the broader impact on Nigeria's democratic landscape.
All right, so to help us peel back and unpack this critical development, we'll explore the challenges, the opportunities, and what it really means for the future of governance in Nigeria. The woman joining us is a Chevening scholar, a politician who ran for office just last year. She's a coalition member of Every Woman Treaty and an advocate who is passionate about women's rights, gender equality, girl-child education, women's leadership, political and financial inclusion. Hawwah Abdullahi Gambo, CEO, Molaya Consults, and the founder of Shiro's Rising Development Initiative. Welcome to Jasiri.
Welcome,
Welcome. Good morning.
Hawwah, can you hear us?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's an absolute pleasure having you join us. Now, Hawwah, before we get into the proposed legislation, let's talk about where things stand regarding the women's participation in governance. We've noted with alarm that the number of women in the National Assembly has been drastically reducing for a few election cycles now, and that there are also several states with no women in the State House of Assembly, which is a big deal. So why do you think that we seem to be regressing instead of progressing when it comes to women's representation in politics? We just talked about, two sides were celebrating women representation, but then at the same time across Africa we're still saying that women are not represented enough, especially when it comes to decision making in politics.
Well, now you asked where do we stand. You've already mentioned where we stand. We're regressing, not. The reason it's just going to be my opinion as a social observer, as I refer to myself as a social scientist sometimes because I'm very interested in what happens to my community especially. But I think to be able to determine the real technicalities of the reason behind this regression, maybe we'll have to do, a kind of round table, scientific research and deep thinking conversations and stuff like that. But one thing is certain, the levels of women's representation in politics, especially, I always like to emphasize this, especially in the northern region, is very poor. And that could be due to two reasons. Number one, very little encouragement from the stakeholders in the community. I'm not saying the electorate or the people, the general populace, no, the stakeholders, the leaders. The leadership, we all know that across all levels, both at the state level and at the national level, there is very little encouragement from.
Hawwah, can you hear us?
Seem to be having issues there with network connection.
It's that time of the year.
The gremlins, I like to think of it as the gremlins in the system. When the gremlins in the system, they slag or they're eating away at our connectivity. That's what I think. I think it's gremlins that are eating away at our connectivity. Yeah. But that's how they're just talking about, the progress and our regression when it comes to inclusivity and women in governance. We've seen a lot of progress, but still, when it comes to the Nigerian situation, we've seen a little bit of the representation of women continue to lag behind as the year progresses. And we know that from the last election cycle, it reduced completely when you find the women on the House, and that's the Senate House, but at the representative level and at the Senate level, it is very House of Reps and of course the House of Senate. It has dropped significantly, and also are there any women governors? No, not so far so good. We hoped that there would have been a women's governor, but we didn't see that during the election cycle. She didn't win, and so the question is: are we regressing or are we progressing? How are you back with us now? We unfortunately do not have her yet.
I would love for her to, because she was making a very salient point about women representation or the lack of it thereof. But then again, another question, and we've discussed this extensively on this table, is are the women themselves ready, right? So it's a different conversation. I did make mention of something, and the last time we talked about this, and Tolu corrected me, which is true, because I said that sometimes when women go there to represent us, they kind of fumble. But then again, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Because the men also go there and drop the ball a lot of times, because we even have more men represented than women. Yeah. But the question still that still begs for answers is, are the women themselves ready? Women are still very primitive in their thoughts, that they do not think. We hear women say that women come after other women for even daring to be in that position. Most women, when it comes to politics, when it comes time to vote, they would rally around the woman maybe, but when it comes time to vote, they will still vote for a man because they think that men are more
because
capable.
they think, so it's a mindset thing. And I keep saying to myself, in the course of, I would really love for us to get Hawwah back, because she was making salient points. And I found myself
think we have her
thinking,
back.
if we were going to get, where would we hope to see a female governor first? In which state of the country?
I'd like to see Lagos. We have Hawwah joining us back. How are you there?
It may not be, huh? It may not be.
How are you with us? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me? Am
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. Ironically, I could hear you guys the whole time.
Yeah.
So I couldn't understand why you couldn't hear me.
It's a gremlin.
It's a gremlin.
You made a very valid observation. Your observation right there is very valid, and it was something I will have arrived at in my delivery much later on. Now, as I was saying, there is very little encouragement from the leaders and stakeholders. That is number one. And number two, you made a very salient observation, which I will have arrived at much earlier, but I will bring it up now. The women ourselves. I will not say the women are not ready. I always like to think, because when you really go down to the electorates, you will not just see the readiness of the women, but you will see their excitement, you will see their anticipation, you will see their enthusiasm for women leadership. But there's somewhere along the line, things change. And as someone who has been in the communities long enough, I do understand the impact of women's lack of agency. Now, agency is not just about, having a career, being high-flying, being successful in your profession. No. Agency is actually about having a right to your own decisions and choices. Now, you may not believe it, but there are a lot of women who do not have that much of a privilege, even when it comes to voting and elections. So no matter how women are enthusiastic and excited about women's leadership, at the end of the day, they get to be subdued or convinced or forced whatsoever to vote otherwise. Now, in terms of our own readiness for leadership, you did mention women coming after other women. You know, that very popular belief and narrative that women are their own worst enemies, women drag each other down. Yes, I do know it happens, but I always say that women who operate on functioning trauma, of course, will tear other women down. That is why I always encourage women to find themselves and heal. Because unless we find ourselves and heal from all the trauma that's holding us back, how do we accumulate this trauma throughout our lives? The social conditionings, the parts of us that we have to overlook, neglect, compromise, the parts of us that were destroyed by societal expectations, family expectations, responsibilities. All of these things count. And you discover that at the end of the day, by the time you get to a certain level in your life, you don't even know who you are. If you are at that level of your life, no matter what kind of opportunities you get, you'll never be able to make any impact because you yourself are lost. So finding ourselves and healing from our traumas as women is very key and integral in ensuring that when we eventually get these opportunities that we're looking for, we maximize it to the best of our abilities to the benefit of Nigerian women.
I'm going to say this, right, before I ask my next question, and I think that's why representation matters. Because for us to undo social conditioning, we must represent and show women who have overcome social conditioning. Right? Because the social conditioning that we're seeing, or social conditioning you spoke about in our cultural norms, all right, and just what is normal when it comes to our culture is centuries and years of, environmental and society conditioning that has caused it. And to get to where we need to get to, to see more women in participation, whether it's in governance, public service, or even private sector, it means that we need to see more representation of women who are doing it. Are there barriers for them to get there? Absolutely. Hence why we're going to our next question about legislation. Now, the bill is proposing the creation of 74 more seats when it comes to participation, 74 additional legislative seats for women in Nigeria. It was first introduced during the 9th National Assembly, but did not pass then. It was reintroduced in the current 10th National Assembly. Its first reading occurred in June 2024, and the second reading on July 9th, 2024. So, please, I would like for you to take us through the main points of this bill. And there's been arguments about the bill, back and forth arguments of the bill, which we're going to get into. But first, take us through the main points of the bill.
Okay. I will be very, very happy if this bill passes. I will be more than, I think I will be one of the happiest women in Nigeria if this bill passes.
Likewise.
It has passed the first reading, which is very encouraging. And we are looking forward to it passing the second reading. But I would also not be surprised or disappointed if it doesn't, because it has happened before. I continue to say that I think it's about time Nigerian women, we re-strategize and get back to the drawing table to find out, map out, and formulate our own strategies that will enable us break more barriers. I am not saying such initiatives from our legislators are not welcome. What I am saying is we should not rely on them 100% as we do right now. What is happening is the fact that if at this point in time, even the 35% affirmative action of the federal government has not yet been fulfilled, then we should understand that it is about time we have a backup plan that will ensure we circumnavigate all these other barriers that are, the lack of fulfillment of the obligations that the federal government has taken and the legislators are taking. Passing the bill is good, but then implementing it is another. What if it passes and it is somehow muscled at the local level that we continue to see every day? So we need to have a backup plan. And my question has always been, yes, these things are there, 35% affirmative action is there, this bill is now going through. What is our backup plan? And what happens almost all the time is that we as a collective, not I as an individual, no, we as a collective Nigerian women almost always do not have a backup plan. And I think unless we do have a backup plan, not much is going to change from the current narrative.
Okay, Hawwah, thank you so much for that. Please still stay with us. Judy talked about the back and forth that we've been having over this bill, and we'll take that up. But in the meantime, we need to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
Welcome back. This is Jasiri, and we're live on all our social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. So before the break, we're looking at Nigeria's journey toward inclusive governance. And there's been a lot of talk, actually, during the break about that and...
and women's fight for representation in governance.
And the debate and the pivot and the permutation of which state, if this movement were to start, which state would be most likely
to be progressive?
To put out,
I think it's Lagos. Lagos
I would have said Lagos, funny enough.
Lagos
is
most progressive.
Is very open to, and we can see in some of the
initiatives
that they're attempting to make. It's not all of them that has been successful, but at least we've seen that some of the initiatives are, towards the progress.
Right.
So I think, although there might be a little pushback, but I think that Lagos, you mentioned the north.
Let's not do it on air, or actually off the air. Let's not do it on air. Right?
We're
live. All right, don't do that.
I mean, okay, but
but somebody tried. All right, I can't remember. I think it was,
there will be trials.
Somebody tried to do that.
Yeah.
I've forgotten her name and I've forgotten the state, and I hate that I've forgotten.
There's been trials.
But she was this close. She was very close to getting there, but unfortunately the counts were down. But with the back and forth we've been talking about, there's been a back and forth about the 74 additional seats for the House. And the argument has been, and criticism has been, that it's special treatment for women. And here's what I would say about that argument, and hopefully when Hawwah joins us, she can also add about it. And it's literally about the fact that the inclusivity and the 74 seats on the floor being mostly for women is this. The argument about it being special treatment is unfair, it's unnecessary, and it should not be had.
Yeah.
Well, because, wait, hang on, let me land first. Because the entry into governance is difficult. To buy a ticket and start from the state, from your party level, to now campaign on that, whether it's your constituency, to be able to get that, it's expensive. Right?
Okay.
And many of the male counterparts, they have sponsors. Women have to do 2 times, whether it's corporate, whether it's private sector, whether it's public sector, women constantly have to work 3 times harder to get into that door. Do you know what I mean? So those special seats are very important. It's for them. Because we're not competing on the same level. Hence, that's what I last.
All right, so Hawwah is back with us, and I'd like to involve her in this whole conversation because before the break, we were in this conversation together. And so, having said that, let's look at the back and forth over the bill that we talked about before we went on the break, and let's look at the criticism of those who oppose the bill. Some of which include that it would undermine party politics, the bill would promote inequality by treating women specially, and that some women would enter the National Assembly not on merit, but on the back of the bill. Then there have also been suggestions of political provision for non-elective seats. Hawwah, please, tell us, what do you make of all these criticisms?
Well, as with every other initiative, policy, regulation, there will certainly be criticisms. But the most important thing, I think, for me, is to be decisive on whether or not the leaders want this bill to be passed through. Because it is a very good bill that is for the benefit of not just Nigerian women, but Nigeria as a whole. Because trust me, when you talk about Nigeria's democracy, you talk about politics in Nigeria, you know, it is this kind of democracy that we always refer to in development conversations, that it is epileptic or handicapped because there are no women. You cannot run a successful democratic administration with half of your population muted. You don't see them, you don't hear them, you don't talk about them, they're not represented. That is not a democracy. So for Nigeria's democracy to mature to the level that it is supposed to be at this time, because we are actually stagnating. Lack of women's participation in leadership and politics is stagnating Nigeria's democracy, is stagnating Nigeria's politics, is stagnating Nigeria's growth. So in order to overcome all these challenges that are holding Nigeria back, women must get on the table. There will be criticisms, of course. Even I, if you let me, I will say, yes, I will pick holes on that bill. But I cannot afford to do that because I know about the significance and the impact that implementing this policy that the bill is proposing will have on Nigeria. Yes, some women will get there due to lack of merit. It doesn't matter. Women not just women. People have gone into places due to lack of merit, and they have surprisingly outperformed those who were there based on merit. It can happen. It doesn't matter. I am not saying we should put women there who are not qualified. There are a whole lot of qualified women in Nigeria who are very capable to do wonderful things at the leadership and political level. So when it comes to this bill passing, there will always be criticisms, always, no matter how good it is. But the most important thing is the collective decision to make sure that it is made into a policy that will be implemented, not a policy that will just be put under the carpet, as with many other policies in Nigeria.
So my thing is, number one, this whole conversation of marriage should not even exist.
It's not just passing, but implemented.
Right. So I was saying that, number one, the whole conversation of marriage should not even exist, because we've also seen situations where men are put in the position based on guess. We've never seen a track record, but we know that maybe their predecessor had, a fair enough track record, and then we're giving them a chance. So why is the conversation coming up now when it comes time to give women the opportunity? You were going to say something?
Yes, because we are in a patriarchal society, ladies. The society, the people are harder on women than on men. Men get an easy ride. A man can basically do anything and get away with it in these climes. And you know that. A man can fail 1,000,000 times and there will be more people willing to give him another chance to try again than a woman who has failed once.
Once, yes. Yes.
This is the kind of, I always tell people, people are not aware of their unconscious misogyny. All of us are unconsciously misogynistic without us knowing, because it's a part of us, it's a part of our bringing. We have grown up seeing this kind of subtle misogynies as normal. Bashing women, bringing women down, it is something that has been normalized, but not for a man. You can't emasculate a man. I agree. I don't like emasculating anyone. But women has been emasculated for centuries and it has been normalized. Mm-hmm. That is why people are quick to attack anything and criticize anything that has to do with a woman. So I personally have overcome and overgrown all these things. I just shove it off my shoulder. We've seen that, done that. Let's move on. Yeah. So my advice at this time is for Nigerian women to be focused, not lose focus, not be distracted. This has been a part of all our lives in different ways and different levels. So let's not take it personally, because it may not stop in our lifetime. But the most important thing I always say, these changes we are fighting for may not happen in our lifetime, but we must ensure we lay the foundation.
Yes, that's always Lolo's mantra. She always talked about the Messiah that is going to come and save us, and it may not be this lifetime. But I'm also going to say that I think that we need to dead the conversation of women coming there as a, would I say, PT party? We don't need a PT party, right? And that's why I talked about deading the conversation of marriage. We don't, because again, there's that tendency to want to put women there just because people will complain, just so that people don't complain, and then they put them there, and eventually they become figureheads. So that's another conversation that we need to make sure that if women are getting into power, they're getting there to make actual change, and not just going there to listen to people who will be telling them what to do. But I want us to talk about whose shoulders the responsibilities lie on the most, because I think it's a collective responsibility. But who do you think? I mean, I know that you ran at some point, and for
the Kaduna State House.
Yeah, for the Kaduna State House
of Representatives.
A lot of times people would want to say that, okay, it's, the individual responsibility to be willing to run. And you talked about that some women are also not willing to run. But with willingness, there should also be a combination of the political party's readiness to push the candidate, a female candidate in this instance. So would we say that the responsibilities lie more on the shoulders of the political party than even the individual?
This is more a question that's reminding me of, this illustration of the chicken or the egg, which comes first. I'm not sure it is any one person's responsibility. It is a collective one. The party has a responsibility, trust me, because if my party has given me the support I needed, I will have won my election. But the candidate also has a responsibility. Politics, running for office is a huge responsibility. No matter how financially liquid you are, no matter how financially ready you are, is a huge responsibility. Much less, I can tell you this for free, 9 to, let me say 8 out of 10% of women that will come out to contest for political office do not have the funds required to run successfully for a political office. Whether we like it or not, Nigerian politics is greatly monetized. It's not just about, getting the tickets, paying all the ticket fees and all that. No, the campaign machinery itself is a huge money guzzler. And that is something that a lot of women lack, including myself. My entire campaign was crowdfunded. When I told people that I was going to run my campaign on crowdfunding, I was laughed at, I was mocked. But at the end of the day, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie chaired my fundraiser. And because of me, a lot of Nigerian women, about 7 of us, were supported with monies from that fundraising that was organized by Whisker. And that was what boosted my campaign. But my party's lack of support, as well as my family's lack of support, because I am the first person to, go into politics in my family. I come from an entire public service family. All my siblings are in the mainstream public service. I myself left public service and jumped directly into politics. So there are a lot of these kind of challenges that women need to overcome to get into politics. And trust me, not many women are willing to risk it all. Because if you're going to go into politics, you have to risk a lot of things. And not many women have the courage to do that. Even if they do have the courage, knowing that they may not be able to get the support they need, they will lack that. That courage will dissipate immediately.
Hawwah.
There are a lot of challenges.
Very nicely put when it comes to challenges. What struck me there was when you talked about your family also not supporting as well. That's very so I wouldn't say sad. I don't want to use the adjective sad, but it's cause for concern, and it makes you wonder. If you expand that, it makes you wonder about the amount of women as well who has lacked support, not just from the public but also from their familiar ties as well. But can I just say that you said a name and I just lost it. I lost all the training, professional training that I had. I lost it, and that's none other than the very own our chief Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the one and only. So you can help me and say hi to her when you can. Tell her that she has a huge fan here, and tell her that Ifemelu is literally my childhood, or rather the characteristics of Ifemelu, it's me, literally me. But I mean, Hawwah, this has been a very insightful discussion, and it's very clear that the conversation about women's representation, inclusivity, and the bill itself when it comes to participation of women, and that 74 seats needs to happen, and it needs to be implemented. Whether stalled or not, whether signed into law, it must be implemented and must happen. Hawwah, it's been sublime having you join us, and thank you so much for taking out this time this morning to join us in this very insightful discussion.
Thank you so much.
It's been an amazing opportunity.
Hopefully we'll have you join us again some other time.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. I really wish we have enough time to digest very well. And it's been great. Please keep up the good work and keep the conversation open, because we need to have this conversation. Yeah. I always say, in as much as, yes, the Nigerian public, as well as Nigerian men who are the leaders now have a role to play, we also have a role to play, we Nigerian women. Yeah. And right now, there is very little pockets of it happening here and there. The coming together of women, the mobilizing women, the women supporting women thing. We have to do more of that before we are able to reach to our goals and the objectives that we are setting to achieve of laying the foundation and ensuring women's inclusivity. We also have a work to do, and I hope that this has been an awakening for all of us. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you.
I like that. It's really an awakening. I know they say these things, Rome was not built in a day.
Absolutely.
But whether we like it or not, we are coming.
Oh yes,
it's coming.
And I think that the awareness should be made through the 3 categories of women: the one who couldn't care less, whether or not the men are in power, the one who are interested but do not have the support or do not even know if they can, and I think the worst one of all are the ones who, although you won't blame them, but they have this myopic perception, and so they just very well blend into the patriarchy of society that, you know what, this is how it's always been done, and who are you? So they will support men 10 times over than they would even support one woman. So yeah, it's
Well, this is what I was saying.
Yeah,
I support women's rights and women's wrongs. Every day, anytime, twice on Sunday, I will support. Look, and let me tell you why. Remember Betta Edu, and remember, the other Minister of Oil and Gas, I forgot her name now for the life of me. Morning, not have my coffee, forgive me. You know what I mean? So these women have all done, very horrid things, and they have been chastised for it. And I'll say this. We need to see women who've done bad and good in the society, because the misconception we constantly have is that women are supposed to be saintly and good and angelic. So that's why I support women right and wrong. She did bad thing in her. Have men not done bad thing? She killed. What murder? What murder did she commit?
All right, ladies. Okay, so they say time flies when you're having fun, and fun we had. Starting this week on a positive note, we would surely keep you updated on the most of the stories of the week. So you don't want to miss this episodes coming this week. And this is a Christmas season. You were already feeling the Christmas episode, so you know that we're bringing you bangers. Anyways, thank you so much for joining, and thanks to our amazing guest, Hawwah, for joining us as well. See you again tomorrow, same time, same station.
Bye until next time.
That's true.